Hi guys. Yeah, that's me. This is Don. From your first set of notes, the last problem on the last page. You see it before you now. You are on the ground. You're throwing that red blob, your keys, and you're throwing it up to your friend on the balcony there. And you throw it harder than you need to, so the keys leave your hand at point 1 there, and they go higher than your friend. They go up to the point 2. And we don't know how high that is, but we'll work that out later. And what we're interested in right now is figuring out, in part A of the problem, figuring out how long it takes for the keys, after they leave your hand, to go up to their maximum height at 2, and then fall back down into your hands. You're on the balcony there at 3. So that's the first thing they're asking. And they do tell us how high you are above, how high your friend is above you. So let me show you what I mean. So I've drawn a coordinate axis, and the moment where the keys, which again is the red blob, leave your hand is the moment where these equations that we've been talking about in class apply. So I'm going to call that y equals 0. In other words, that's my initial y naught equals 0. And above that, where your friend catches it, that's h, and they're saying that in this problem, h is equal to 6 meters, right? So pretty far up there. And they're also saying that the initial speed with which the keys leave your hand is 15 meters per second, which again, that's pretty fast, you know. If you multiply it by 3.6, that's kilometers per hour. You could work that out if you like. So the first thing we want to do in part A is find the time that it takes to go from 1 to 3. So we don't really care about 2, not right now anyways, right? Now I know that a lot of you in your previous course, you've done it in the following way, right? The time from 1 to 3 is equal to the time from 1 to 2, right? Plus the time from 2 to 3. Now, that's a good way to do it, right? And you can still do it that way, but I just want to show you a different way of doing that, right? So I'm going to do part A, and I'm going to do it in a different way. And the different way is going to involve going directly from 1 to 3, as I said, right? So I'm going to directly solve for that. Okay, how do we do that? Well, when you look at this picture, it's beautiful, right? And I've tried to summarize all the information that's given here. What strikes me right away is that we know the initial position, right? Y naught equals 0. And we also know the final position, right? So the symbols we use for initial and final position are y naught is the initial position, t equals 0 is the subscript 0 there, and y, just y, is the final position. So the fact that I know these means that I'm going to look at the position equation, right? So here goes. I'm just going to write down, as we did in class, that position equation. I'm going to write it in terms of y, because we're talking about a y-axis here. Just one of those formulas off the formula sheet. Now I'm going to put in what I know underneath, but I'm going to do it with symbols first, because as you hopefully will see, it's easier, right? So the initial y naught is 0. Right underneath that, I'm going to put 0, right? Sometimes, as you know in class, I'll go like that, right? Now, we talked about vectors today in class. That vector, that green initial velocity vector, v naught, it's in the positive y direction. So we would say that v naught y equals v naught, the speed, is positive, just the speed, which was given in the problem to be 15 meters per second. So I'm just going to put it in there. It's just v naught times t. T, of course, is what we want. And then ay is negative g because of the choice of y being positive upwards. So putting everything in, this is what I know from this equation. And t is what I want. So I know everything except for t. Now the problem with this equation is that it's a quadratic, right? So if you're okay with that, you can go ahead and solve it. But I know that in my experience as a teacher, quadratic, that's right, that's quadratic, right? So you can solve it if you want. Some people have it built into their calculator, right? And that's fine, but you can avoid it. I'm going to show you a two-step method, right? And the two-step method is similar to what you guys did in your previous course. Similar to this, except what I'm going to go after is I'm going to go after the velocity, which is vertical, right? Because we're talking one-dimensional up-down motion here, at Vy at 3 seconds, right? That's what I'm going to go after. And here are the 2 steps. It always works, right? First step, find Vy, right? How do you do it without the time, right? I don't know the time, right? So I use the no-time equation. I refer to it as the no-time equation. And I just write it down as it appears on the formula sheet. Except now we're talking about y, so I put in y instead of x. And then once again, I go underneath and I say, well, this is what I want, right? And back to the picture. Ask yourself, what's the direction that the keys are moving just before they fall into my hand at the point 3? Up or down? Well, if you think about it, they went up to 2, and then they fell back from 2 down to 3, so they'll be moving downwards, right? So I'm not saying that little green vector is the right green vector, but that's what I'm after, right? That's what I want to calculate in step 1 down below here. So looking at that as a vector, and it is a vector, right? Is it positive or is it negative? Well, up is positive. That's moving down just before I catch it in my hands at 3. So that's a negative thing. So in this quadratic, I want to take the negative square root. This is the mistake a lot of students make, right? Because it's math says this. This would be V naught squared once again, right? We said that. That's just V naught. That's negative G. Put in what we know, right? 2G. Final Y is H. And y naught is 0, right? There's that familiar 2gh again. And math says, oh yeah, plus or minus. It could be either one, right? Like this, It's a trick question. People say 2, but it's really plus or minus 2. That's math. Physics says, look at the picture. And in this case, you just look at the picture and you say, oh yeah, that's the negative component. Vy is negative because the keys are moving downwards. So I'll just get rid of, here goes, poof, the magic thing. That's the answer. So now I just put the numbers in, right? And that's Vy. That's step 1. And I'm going to do it all without putting the numbers in, and you're going to put the numbers in, right? Well, I guess I should put the numbers in too, but it takes up too much time. That's why I don't want to do it. So once we have Vy, now you can use what I call the simple equation, which is what you used to use anyways in your previous course. You just go to 2 because you know, and I know you know this because we talked about it in class, Vy equals 0 at 2, right? And then what you did to get the time from 1 to 2 was you used this equation that I'm calling the simple equation. And we're just going to use that same equation. But now, Vy is not 0. Vy is this, right? So you just work that out. It's negative. You put it in. And bang, right? You're going to get what you want, which is going to be the time. The time is going to be from 1 to 3, right? So it's a 2-step thing, and quadratic, the math is pretty hairy, it's ugly. Unless you really love quadratics, I would suggest to use the 2-step method, or stick to your original method that I talked about above. So let's actually do this. So this is going to be negative V naught squared, and then I'll just punch in all the numbers, right? But I'll do it at the end. That's Vy. That's the velocity of the keys just at the moment before they fall into your hand. This is just V naught. That's the moment they leave your friend's hand. Ay is negative G. Now I'm going to solve for t, and here goes the algebra. Gt is equal to V naught plus this. Did I get that right? I think I did. Yeah. Got to be careful about those pluses and minuses, right? And then I'm going to divide by G, both sides. Right? And of course the G's cancel, and because I got this nice stylus, I can just cancel those all out, and bang, that's our answer. Symbols only. If you're into quadratics, hey, that looks like a quadratic solution, sure enough. Anyways, so that's it. Now you just put the numbers in. It's real simple. I forget what the numbers are. 15 meters per second for V naught, and H is 6 meters. So 15 meters per second plus 15 squared, which is, I think, 225. But anyways, grab your calculators. And in our textbook, in our course, we don't worry. We just say 9.8. Forget about the 1 on the end. You're just using up more time by writing that. Divided by 9.8. And that's it, right? And it's some number. By the way, this one is our old friend, and that is the time from 1 to 2. I'll let you convince yourself. Work it out with symbols only, right? So what this is saying is that time to get from 1 to 3 is the time to get from 1 to 2 plus the other time. And the other time, obviously, is the time to get from 2 to 3. So it's kind of cool, right? Whether you do this problem using your old method, right, where you go 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, or whether you do this two-step method or the quadratic, right? The advantage of these other new methods that you may not have seen, namely the quadratic method and the two-step method, their advantages are that well, it's not really an advantage. I take it all back. So I'll let you work out the numbers. That's it. We're done A. I'm not going to put the numbers in. I don't want to waste your time. I'll post the solutions for you online. I just want you to see the process. Now we're going to work out the speed of the keys when he catches them. This is why we need this time. Remember, this is the time from 1 to 3. So part B is the speed. I don't like this problem. I would say let's work out the velocity at 3, right? That's what we're saying. Because we know Vy is negative, right? And hey, what the heck? We already worked out Vy, right? You can work out Vy as an intermediate step. I should have done that. Have you ever heard when you're solving problems, guys, that you should read the whole problem? I should have read the whole problem. Because I know the answer. That's Vy. So bang, right? Vy equals negative. The speed would just be the absolute value of this, right? V0 squared minus 2gh. So again, I don't want to waste your time just sitting here punching numbers in a calculator, but you will get this, and it will be negative, and the speed is just equal to the absolute value, whatever that number works out to be. Done, right? Symbolically, I'm done. Now this one is interesting. This is the total distance that the keys travel, right? So d total. Okay. Well, if you go back up to the picture, scroll back up to the picture here, you can see that looking at this, that I start at 1 and I go to 2 and then I fall back to 1. So basically it's the distance from 1 to 2 plus the distance from 2 to 3, right? So here goes. So that's going to be equal to the distance from 1 to 2 plus the distance from 2 to 3. So to do this, we have to figure out the y at 2, right? This is max height, right? And now you use the fact at max height that the velocity is equal to 0, because we need to know that, right? So how do we work that out? Well, we go after the no time equation, because I could calculate this time, and this time. You may have calculated it. If you have that, you can just directly solve for y, but I don't have it. So I need to go after that position, but I know Vy equals 0, right? So I'm just going to, without using the time, I'm going to use the no time equation. It's a quick and easy way to do it if you do not have, right? If you don't have the time from 1 to 2, right? So if you don't have that, then you can just use the no time equation, right? And put in the appropriate positions. Here, I'll show you what I mean. So at the top, this is 0. Yay, that's great, right? This is still V0 squared, no difference there. Minus 2g, no difference there. But now this is y2. That's the maximum height. And that, remember we call that 0, right? So bang, I'm just going to do it with symbols first, and then we can pump in the numbers there. Let's do it. Let's actually put in the numbers on this one. So if you look at that, that'll be, right, it's a positive thing over 2g. Hey, I can do this in my head maybe. Maybe not. 15 meters per second, wasn't it? And that's squared. Divided by twice 9.8, which is 19.6. I know that one, twice g, because it happens all the time. So 225 divided by 19.6. And I can't switch to my calculator because that will screw up this recording, so I won't. But anyways, that's what it'll be, 225, because I know that one in my head. I'm checking, what I'm doing here, guys, is important on a test. If you have time, you should check the units. You look at the units first, and you say, wait a minute, that's going to be meters squared divided by meters. That's going to leave meters. The second squareds cancel. Yeah, distance in meters. Oh, great. My assistant just worked it out for me. Thanks a lot. So this is going to be, it's Rohit?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rohit worked it out. So it's 11.5. I'm rounding it to the nearest 3 significant digits. And that's meters. So awesome, right? So let's work out what these things are. That's the distance from 0 to 15. So that's just 15. I'll write it up here. 15. Oh, sorry, not 15. Rohit told me 11.25. 11.5 meters. And then the other one, let's go back to the picture. 2 to 3, what's that going to be? Here we are back in the picture. 2 to 3 is going to be, this we've called y2. So that's going to be y2 minus h, right? y2 minus h is just 11.5. So I'm talking about this one now. 11.5 meters minus, what was it, 6 meters, guys? Yeah. So that's it. So twice 11.5 is 23. 23 minus 6 is 17 meters. So that's the total distance. There I did the numbers for part C. Thanks to Rohit. And for Pramdeep? Paramjot helped me too. So that's it, guys. That's just to give you an idea of how I'd go about solving these. So as you can see, the important message here is there's more than one way to do these things. You can do it the way you used to do it. You can try one of these new methods. But you have to show me clearly. You have to have a nice picture with a coordinate axis. Choose where the origin is. Use symbols as much as you can. And I'll see you guys in class. Thanks a lot. Bye.